Good morning, everybody. Today we are going to talk about the vowel sounds which are related to diphthongs. What are these diphthongs? Diphthongs can be defined as the vowel glides from one monophthong to another. The movement is so fast from one sound to another that we cannot identify as two separate sounds, but they are to be caught as a single sound. In English, there are 8 diphthongs. Whereas in the Indian languages, we just have 2 diphthongs. What are the 2 diphthongs in Indian languages? That's right, ow and I. These are the 2 diphthongs that you have, whereupon in ow, you could find the quick tongue movement is from a to u. While in I, the quick tongue movement is from a to e. Because 2 monophthongs are involved in the production of these sounds and the movement is very fast that they are considered to be one sound, they are called as diphthongs. Whereas we have 2 sounds in Marathi or Hindi or Sanskrit derived languages, in English we have got 8 diphthongs. And the pronunciation of these diphthongs create a problem. A practice of all these 8 diphthongs helps us to improve our speech radically. What are these 8 diphthongs? As you could find in the extreme right hand corner of the diagram, you could find 3 arrows. Can you see that? That's right. The first is what is called as A, moving from the position of A and ending with E. Can you make it out? The second glide in the same diagram is from R to E. That's right. That's why it is called as I. In the third glide of the same diagram, you could find the movement from O to E, which can be pronounced as OI. That's right. So, the second diagram on the top right talks about 3 glides, A, I, and OI. Can you make out? These 3 are moving towards E sound. That's right. If you just come below that, that is the second set of diagrams on the extreme right, you could find 2 glides. One is starting from the position of central unrounded and weak vowel and moves towards oo. Can you make out? Oh. Don't open your mouth wide. Oh. That's right. And if you look into the same diagram, the second glide, you could find that the glide begins with a, which is the back position, unrounded, between half open and open, and moves towards oo. Could you make it? So that should be pronounced as open your mouth now. Ah, ow. The first sound was oh. The next sound was ow. That's right. If you look at these 2 glides in the diagram, they are heading towards oo. So you have in the first diagram the glides beginning elsewhere and ending with E. And in the second diagram, we say that the glides begin elsewhere and end with the centralized back just above the half closed position, oo. Can you make out the commonalities between both the diagrams and both the glides? Yes, all the glides are moving up, rising up. Don't you think? In the vowel diagram, they are all rising up and hence they are called as rising diphthongs. They also are beginning somewhere in the open position and moving towards the closed position. Did you realize them? Either they are ending with E or they are ending with U. They are heading up. So they are rising and they are closing. Can you make out the words? They are rising diphthongs because they are rising up. They are closing diphthongs because they are moving towards close. That's good. Will you take pains of looking at the diagram that is in the second set and on the left side? Yes, you could find 3 glides there. Can you find? The first glide begins at A position, which is front between half closed and half open, and moves towards the centralized front, or maybe the central vowel, which is between half closed and half open, the weak vowel in English, the schwa as we call it as a. So it can be pronounced as a. It begins with a and ends with a. So a. That's right. Look at the second glide. You have the glide beginning with E position, which is centralized front just above the half closed position, and moves towards the central vowel A. Can you make out? That's right. It is E. E. Look at the third glide. The glide begins at U position, which is a centralized back just above the half close, and moves towards the central vowel A, which is the weak one. Can you make out? So it should be pronounced as U, A, U, U. That's right. If you look at these three glides in this diagram, they are quite different from the earlier two diagrams discussed. Can you make out the differences? That's right. These glides are not rising up. On the contrary, they are falling towards the central. They are starting in the front position or at the back positions and moving towards the central and are falling down. Hence, these three ea, ia, ua are called as falling glides. Can you make out another difference between these three glides and the other five glides that we discussed? Yes, they are not moving towards closed position. On the contrary, they are falling down. Agree with that? If the other five are called as closing diphthongs, these are centering diphthongs because they are moving towards center. If the first five are called as rising diphthongs because the glide is rising, these are called as falling diphthongs. If the other five are either ending with E, which is a centralized front, or U, which is a centralized back, these three are ending with A, which is a central diphthong. Could you make out? So you understand the concepts of rising and falling. If the glide is rising, they are called rising. If the glide is falling, they are called as falling diphthongs. You also understand the concepts of closing and centering diphthongs. If the glides are moving towards close, they are called closing diphthongs. If the glides are moving towards central, they are called as centering diphthongs. There is also one more technical term involved in the production of this. Now, of these 8 glides, of which 5 are rising and 3 are centering, you could find that some of the glides are very wide or long, and some of the glides are narrow or short. Can you make out which are the longer ones or the wider ones? If you look at the first diagram on the extreme top right hand side, you could find that of the 3 glides that are ending with E, the first glide starts with A and ends with E, which is a shorter one, traveling only 2 compartments. Do you realize? But the other 2 glides, the one starting at R and ending with E, I as it is pronounced as, is crossing 3 compartments of the vowel diagram. It is beginning at a third compartment and ending with the first compartment. Do you realize? So it's a long glide or the wide glide. If you look at OI, which is beginning at O and ending with E, this also is traveling all the 3 compartments. Do you realize that? That's right. So even OI is a longer glide or a wider glide. So in the first diagram, you could find 2 longer glides or wide glides, I and OI, and 1 short glide or narrow glide, A. Okay, come down to the second diagram, which is just below this and on the extreme right hand corner in the second row. You have 2 glides there. One is beginning with A and ending with U, as we pronounce it as ow. Now, if you look at the glide is quite long because it is traveling all the 3 compartments. It starts with the bottom compartment, travels the middle and ends with the top compartment where U is there. So this glide, ow, is a longer glide or a wider glide. Whereas if you compare this with the other glide in the same diagram, it starts with the central position of A and ends with U. O, as it is called as. This is the first one is ow, longer glide. The second one is O, the shorter glide. So in the second diagram that we discussed, one glide is long, the other glide is short. Now look at the third diagram, which is in the second row and extreme left. We have three glides here. O, E, U, and A. These are the three glides. A, E, and U. Can you make out? Yes. If you look at the glide length, don't you think all the three are narrower? Because they are traveling only two compartments, from the front to the central, from the back to the central, and that's it. Because all the three are narrower glides or the small glides. So in English, we have 8 diphthongs, of which 3 are wide or long diphthongs. What are they? I, oi, and ow. And 5 are narrow diphthongs. What are they? A, O, U, E, and A. Could you make out? So, for describing the diphthongs, we need to have in mind the three-term description for each sound. Where is it starting from and where is the glide ending at? Number 1. Number 2, we should know whether the glide is long or wide or narrow or small. Number 3, we should know whether the glide is rising or falling. Number 4, we should know whether the glide is closing or centering. And then comes the lip position, whether the lips are rounded or unrounded. Because two sounds are involved here, it could obviously happen that in the beginning the sounds are rounded and maybe in the end they are unrounded. Or vice versa. In the beginning the sounds are unrounded and later the sounds become rounded. Or it can also happen that while the diphthong is pronounced, the first sound as well as the second sound, the lips are neutral and not rounded at all, unrounded at both the positions. So let us see a detailed description of each diphthong in the following slides. The very first one is called as A. Now I am not using the diagram here because the diagram is already explained here, and I'll be using the diagram only in the end to summarize our discussions. A. It begins with A and ends with U. Ends with E. During the articulation of RPA, it is a glide from A to E. And so the glide begins at front, unrounded position between half close and half open, and moves to the centralized front, unrounded position just above the half close. The lips are neutral while the glide is pronounced. The diphthong is rising, closing, and a narrow glide. You understand the meaning of rising, closing, and narrow now. Distribution-wise, the diphthong AE occurs in the word initial, medial, as well as the word final positions, as in the examples of AIM, 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 initial position. TABLE, the normal Indian pronunciation is table, but the RP pronunciation is table, table, where A occurs in the medial position. And the final position example is DAY, day, day. That's right. Let's look at some more examples practicing as for AE sound. PAY, pay. BATHE, bathe. TABLE, table. DAY, day. SCALE, scale. GAME, game. CHANGE, change. JAMES, James. MAID, meaning the helper in the house, or MADE, the past tense of make. Both have the same pronunciation, made. NEIGH, BOUR or BOR, neighbor. LATE, late. FACE, face. RAIL, WAY, railway. Note that the same diphthong is used twice in the same word. Railway. VALE, veil. THEY, they. SAME, same. HASTE, haste. YALE, yale. WAKE, wake. Player, player. Theyare, raya, raya. Practice them again for a greater understanding of the pronunciation of the sound. The second diphthong that you have is open your mouth wide, ah, and end with e, I. Now this is easy for us because we have it in our language. I as in wife. The RPI is a glide from A to E, and so the glide begins from the front unrounded vowel just above the half open position and moves to centralized front unrounded vowel just above the half closed position. The lips are neutral at first and later loosely spread while the glide is pronounced. The diphthong is rising, closing, and wide glide. Distribution wise, the glide occurs in all the three positions as you could find in ICE, eyes, initial position, SMILE, smile, medial position, and BUY, by, the final position. These are the examples practicing for I. PILE, pile, BITE, bite, TIE, tie, DINE, dine, KIND, kind, GUIDE, guide, CHILD, child, WRITE, right, WRIGHT, as if to mean a dramatist, but not sure was a great playwright. The spelling is WRIGHT, right. MINE, mine. NICE, nice. LIKA, like. FIVE, file. RITE, here RITE would mean a religious activity that you do, the religious rites that we do. And RIGHT is in terms of left and right or right and wrong, whatever. Whatever the case is, the pronunciation is right. VINE, vine. THINE, thine. THY, thy. SIGN, sign. RESIGN, resign. HEIGHT, height. WHILE, while. FIND, find. That's right. Practice the words again with spelling and with pronunciation for a greater understanding of the sound. The next sound that we have is O-E. That's right. The glide begins at O and ends with E, and hence the pronunciation is OI, as in oil. OIL, oil. During the articulation of this glide, RPOI is a glide that is from O to E. And so the glide begins from back, rounded vowel, between open and half open position, and moves towards the front, unrounded vowel, just above the half closed position. The lips are rounded at first and later loosely spread while the glide is pronounced. The diphthong is rising, closing, and wide glide. Distribution wise, OI sound occurs in all the three positions, as you could find in OIL, oil, occurring in the initial position. NOISE, noise, medial position, and POISON, poison. Poi is the final position. More examples for OI sound is POINT, point, BOY, boy, final position. TOY, toy, final position. DOYLE, Doyle, Arthur Conan Doyle, the one who has written Sherlock Holmes. COIN, coin. NOISE, noise. LOYAL, loyal. Here a diphthong is used, loyal, loyal. Similarly is ROYAL, royal. FOIL, diphthong, foil. JOINT, joint. VOICE, voice. SOIL, soil. HOIST, hoist. CHOICE, choice. And MOIST, moist. Practice again for the pronunciation and the spellings. The next sound that we have is O. Now these followed by the next. These two will be ending with U. The first three diphthongs were ending with E and these two will be ending with U. O. Don't open your mouth wide. Just open it. The central vowel is to be pronounced. U. O. As in SLOW. The normal Indian pronunciation is slow. But we don't have any sound as O at all in English. Did we find any of the 12 monophthongs? If among the 12 there is no sound, the pronunciation of ours is wrong. And we need to understand that it is not a monophthong like O, which is not there in English at all, but it could be some diphthong, especially the diphthong O. So it is not slow, it is slow. O, slow. That's right. RPO is a glide from to U. And so the glide begins from central unrounded vowel between half close and half open position and moves towards the back rounded vowel just above half close position. The lips are unrounded at first and later become slightly rounded while the glide is pronounced. So the diphthong is rising, closing, and narrow glide occurring in all the three positions in English. As you could find OWN, the normal pronunciation is own, but actually RP pronunciation is own. I own a car. Okay. BOAT, the normal Indian pronunciation is boat, but the RP pronunciation is boat. So Shelley sat in a boat and was sunk for unknown reason. Boat. SLOW, slow, is the Indian pronunciation. But the RP is, the receipt pronunciation is slow. So wherever you have a sound O pronouncing in Indian English, you have to get reminded that it could be a diphthong. O. Consciously practice them. POST, host. BOTH, both. TONE, tone. DONT, don't. COLD, cold. GO, go. CHOKE, choke. JOSEPH, Joseph. MOTION, motion. NO, the normal Indian pronunciation is no. O sound is not there at all. We have O. So if you are pronouncing any sound other than the 12 monophthongs discussed, English RP doesn't have that sound and we need to think whether we need to replace that sound with some diphthong. Motion. NO. It's not no, it is no. KNOW also has got the same pronunciation. No. LOAF. Loaf. A loaf of bread. FOE. Foe, meaning enemy. ROLL. Roll. VOTE. Vote. THOUGH. Though. SOLE. Soul, meaning the sole of your shoe. Or SOUL. Soul, which would mean the soul within the body. Both have got the same pronunciation. Soul. ZONE. Zone. SHOW. Show. HOPE. Hope. YOKE or YOLK. Both have got the same pronunciation. Yoke. And WONT. Wound. Now this sound becomes slightly difficult for the non-native speakers because Indians, at least in Indian languages, we don't have this sound at all and we tend to replace it with a monophthong, which is not there in RP at all. There is no harm in pronouncing Indian English and the Indian way of pronouncing no and so, but when you are learning phonetics and English phonology, We are supposed to know the pronunciation of it is not no and so, but it is no and so. Practice it for a better understanding. The next sound that we are going to talk about begins with R and ends with oo. Now, this becomes easier for us because we have it in our language. That's right, it is ow. Open your mouth, the back part of the tongue is used, the tongue is at rest, and just rounding your lips by slightly raising your tongue to oo. Ow. That's right, as in cow. RP ow is a glide from R to oo. So the glide begins from back, unrounded vowel just above the half post position, just above the open position, and moves towards the back, rounded vowel just above the half closed position. The lips are neutral in the beginning and later they get slightly rounded. Ow, yes, they get rounded. While the glide is pronounced, so the initial position is neutral and the final is rounded. The diphthong is rising. Yes, it is rising. Closing because it is moving towards close, and a wide glide because it is crossing all the three compartments of the vowel diagram. Distribution wise, it occurs in all the three positions in English sounds. Say, for example, OWL, owl. That's right, initial position. TOWN, town, medial position, and HOW, how, final position. Let's practice some words with it. POUND, pound. BOUGH, as the branch of a tree, bow. Or BOW, as a verb, to bend down on, in front of somebody, is also pronounced as bow. TOWN, town. DOUBT, doubt. COW, cow. GOWN, gown. CHOW, chow. Chow, chow. Chinese product. MOUTH, mouth. LOUD, loud. ROW, row. WOUND, in the form of a verb. So it's a past tense of wind. WIND as a verb is pronounced as wind, and the past tense of it is WOUND, wound. FOWL, foul. ROUND, round. VOW, wow. THOU, thou. SOU, sow. RESOUND, resound. SHOUT, shout. HOWL, howl. HOW, how. And CROWD, crowd. That's right. Practice them more for a better understanding of the pronunciation of the words. So, dear students, in this video today, we talked about the rising diphthongs in English. There are 5 rising diphthongs in English language. 3 of them are rising and ending with the sound E, and 2 of them are rising and ending with the sound U. Now, this diagram gives you the diagrammatic representation of all the 5 rising diphthongs in English. As you could find, the first is A, which is rising, closing, and narrow glide. I, that's right, rising, closing, and a wide glide. I, rising, closing, and a wider glide. Ow, rising, closing, and a wider glide ending with oo. And O, rising, closing, and a narrow glide ending with oo. So these are the 5 rising diphthongs in English ending with E and ending with oo. I hope you have enjoyed and understood this video. Stay tuned for the other diphthongs in the next video. Bye for now.